Right then crew, I've had another stupid idea. However, that'll have to wait until the next video, because this time my wife has insisted that I make her a lighthouse. Which I'm really looking forward to doing. So, the plan is, I've got... Hello everyone, Flint from the future here, currently editing the video to find that most of my audio is completely rubbish. So I've now edited it in such a way that I'm going to do a voiceover for the most part. Never done one of these before, so hopefully I don't do a terrible job. I've got an okay mic, so we'll see what happens. Started this project by cutting wood to length. It had to be a certain length at the top and a certain length at the bottom, but it came out rather well, at least for the start, until I made a mistake at some point later. So I must remember to check next time for screws. That nasty thing just caught my finger. Entirely my own fault, but obviously I need to take all the screws out. Idiot. Good opportunity for me to use the craft lock. Now when I was cutting the lengths I had to bevel them. Beveling is cutting at an angle, so when you put two bits of wood together they will make a corner shape, as it were. I beveled these at 22.5 degrees, in the hope that when they went together they had that perfect octagon shape. And it did. It turned out rather well in the end. Here's me mocking it up. I did actually attach it all together using ratchet straps, but for some reason I've lost that footage. But it still came out rather well in the end. It's the next morning and this is the result. And we have a nice round octagonal lighthouse, or a big speaker tube. To go on top of the lighthouse for the actual light, we found this on Amazon. It's a solar powered lighthouse top, obviously. Now if I cover it up, it actually turns and lights up. It's not particularly bright, but it will do the job. At this point I'm gluing on the base, and again I'm attaching it with ratchet straps, having it all tight, so leaving it overnight. Then sanding and filing, as I plan to put my wife's tools in here and she needs to be able to put her arm in without scratching herself. I'm currently sealing it with silicone sealant. It's weatherproof. This thing does need to go outside, so it will need to be protected from the elements, and we're from the UK, so a lot of rain. This is cutting out bits for the balcony and then using a Dremel to sand to shape them. I ended up with 8 of them in the end, and they looked really good on the lighthouse. The rope's going to go through that, and it should look great. So at this point I've attached the lid with a hinge and a hook, because as I said I want my wife's tools to go inside. I've also put some drainage holes in the bottom and put some ventilation holes. Obviously I'm sanding, getting ready for painting and staining. Now this paint I'm using is outdoor paint in Botanical Retreat. It's pretty much sage green, it's my wife's favourite colour, and will be used for the base for most of it, apart from the black parts that will come later. Starting to look pretty good. I'm getting pretty proud of this. This is one of my better builds. I got some windows from Amazon, they're doll's house windows. They were MDF and not plywood as I'd hoped, which ended up being a problem a little later. Ended up staining everything this really nice black. Everything had 2 or 3 coats. This is PVC trim that I'm using to cover up the corners. It also accents the octagon shape that I'm going for. This stuff was supposed to be self-adhesive, but didn't adhere that well, so ended up using super glue on. So when it came to the windows, I'm actually attaching them to a piece of acrylic that I'm calling the keeper's room, and I want some light to shine through it. So I'm currently cutting out some tape so I can get the negative parts for the window, because I do plan on painting this piece of acrylic the same colour as the lighthouse itself and have some light shine through it, which is where the windows are going. There it is, there's some tape on there and painting with the same outdoor paint. Pop some hooks inside as my wife's tools, all ready to go. Just finishing the trim, which proved to be a bit of a pain in the bum, only had a tiny bit left. And neatening off with a craft knife, or rather a craft blade, because for some reason I couldn't find the handle, so I've just got the blade in my finger. A bit dangerous, but don't copy me, I'm a moron. Now the plan with the windows was to kerf them, which is to carve the back in such a way that you can then bend them, but unfortunately, as this stuff was made of MDF and not plywood, this ended up happening.
Well, that didn't work.
So in the end, I took a Dremel to it and shaped the windows, put a curve in the back. I got some very thin at some points, but it did work in the end, providing I was very, very careful. Then marking where the windows are going to go and using a file to scratch into the acrylic so the glue actually adheres. And then once I glued them on, I then used some clamps to hold them in place while the glue dried. Currently filing a little hole because I plan to put this, it's a light up rope that we had lying about, and I want to be able to use that for the light coming from the keeper's room. So I'm using some JB Weld to glue it down to the lighthouse itself and placing it very carefully, very carefully, because I didn't really want to mess this up. JB Weld gets everywhere. However, it went on well and popped the paint can on top of it so it didn't move overnight while the glue cured. Starting to look pretty good at this point, and I also hooked my wife's gardening gloves underneath, so when you opened it, there they are, and it closes easy without any trouble. Next part was to put a bit of rope inside. It was 2 meters long and I had to curl it up quite tight to get it in, but it gave a really nice glow at night. Lit up the inside so it looked like someone was actually living in there. And then putting the rope for the balcony around. It turned out really nice in the end. I did stain it black, but I was really happy with the end result. Now the next job is to draw and paint some artwork on the sides. I did have some visual references to use that my wife had found, and so I drew them to the best of my ability. Unfortunately, pen, pencil, paint, that's not really my medium. However, I don't think it came out too badly in the end. This is all penciled in and ready to be painted, with a different design on each face. As you can see here, I've made a start. I'm actually doing this one colour at a time, so it actually took me 3 days to to paint the whole thing. I'm particularly proud of my parrot and my ship. And there's the finished result. Really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you're interested in the stuff that I build, please feel free to subscribe. You'd be helping me out, and I'd be very, very grateful. And thanks to everyone. And here it is, lit up at night in its full glory. Now, my wife knows where to find her tools, and she can also make sure that ships don't crash into her flower bed. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.